you have a cell phone, if you have a cell phone or a pager, just please turn it off or set it to stun. Baruch Dayan Ha'amet, we praise the Judge of Truth. Begin with Psalm 121. Esai enai el haharim me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai, oseh shamayim va'aretz. Al yitein lamot raglecha, al yanum shomrecha. Hine lo yanum v'lo yishan shomer Yisrael. Adonai shomrecha, Adonai tzilcha al yad yaminecha. Yomam hashemesh lo yakeka v'yarech balayla. Adonai yishmarcha mikol ra yishmor et nafshecha. Adonai yishmar tzeicha avuecha me'ata va'ad olam. I lift my eyes to the mountains. From whence cometh my help? My help cometh from the Lord, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way, your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. The Lord is your guardian, he is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. God will guard you from all harm, he will guard your soul. Your going and your coming, now and forever. Death has taken our beloved, our dearly departed, Margaret Goda. Our friends grieve in their darkened world. In their silence there is lamentation. In their tears there is loneliness. Lost in their sorrow, may they find the presence of loving friends. Hear them, O God, and be with them. For Margaretha's love that united many, many people in life, and which death cannot sever. For her companionship that we shared along life's path, and which continues through the tenderness of memory. For the gifts of her heart and mind that brought joy, brought happiness. All of these now are a precious remembrance. And for all of these and more, we give our thanks to God. It is a time of grief and a time of sadness. And so once again, we listen to the voice of our sacred scriptures from Sefer Tehillim, from the book of Psalms. It tells us of our kinship with the Creator. In light as in darkness, in joy as in sorrow, in life as in death. Together let us recite the 23rd Psalm in the English. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. It is a privilege now to call forward to eulogize his grandson, Mike.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you to all that have come. I want to first say thank you to my mother and my two sisters for helping me prepare my remarks today. What can be said about a woman named Margaret Goda? That she was a daughter, sister, mother, a wonderful grandmother, great-grandmother, and great-great-grandmother. Mere words cannot bring a true picture, as each of us carries our own memories and remembrances of encounters with this wonderful woman. Born near Salzburg, Austria in 1929, Margaret Wilhelm was born into an affluent family. She would lose her mother at a young age to a car accident. She grew into a determined, beautiful young woman. With the onset of World War II, her life, like many others, was turned upside down. She spoke of a time when she was walking on a beautiful spring day near a freshly plowed field when the German Air Command began strafing the area with bullets. With nowhere to take cover, she began to run through the field to escape, hearing the bullets flying past her. She sprinted, and scared, she threw herself down onto the ground as clods of dirt were thrown up onto her by the plane's bullets. She always said she was one of the lucky ones. She survived with only a flesh wound. After the liberation of Vienna, she found 2 jobs, one as a hairdresser and the other as a waitress. A young man named Heine had become a regular visitor to her restaurant owing to the fact that there were 2 beautiful waitresses that worked there, Margaret and her coworker. One day, Heine went in and was served by Margaret's coworker. Margaret may or may not have slipped a generous portion of salt onto Heine's Wiener Schnitzel. Needless to say, Heine would only go back if Margaret was serving the schnitzel that day. When Heine became sick, Margaret would not leave his side, and he said he always knew that she was the one because of it. She and Heine made a life together, and with hard work, determination, and the help of the Jewish Family Services, made their journey to America with a brand new baby, not knowing the country, the language, or the customs. They docked in New York in 1950, chose to continue on to Cleveland, Ohio, and once in Cleveland, the Jewish Family Services helped the young family obtain an apartment. As I mentioned before, Margaret came from a well-to-do family in Austria, and accordingly had very little experience in cleaning and cooking for a new family. When Margaret wanted to clean the floor, she asked her neighbor, "How?" The neighbor, with a confused look, told her, "Throw water on it and scrub it." So Margaret got a big bucket of water, proceeded to dump the entire contents onto the floor, and scrubbed. The downstairs neighbors were not too happy. Yet the Jewish community was instrumental in welcoming them, helping them to acquire housing and employment. During the ensuing years, another girl, Faye, was born, and the couple were further blessed with the addition of 2 boys, Samuel and Davy. Her first employment was in downtown Cleveland at one of the venues that now make up the Playhouse Square. She would dress in her uniform and transform into an usher and seat the public for matinees and vaudeville acts. Margaret went to work in a bakery on Coventry Road in Cleveland Heights to help her family with finances. Being Austrian, she was a natural with baked goods and became a popular employee. When her boss became the owner of the tavern, her boss became an owner of a tavern, he asked her to accompany him and become a barmaid in the new establishment. This would become her profession for 42 years. With strength, perseverance, and stubbornness, she and Heine went on to become tavern owners of 6 bars on the east side of Cleveland for a total of 39 years. One of her most favorite establishments was the Americana Lounge on Cedar Road in South Euclid. It was a high-end cocktail lounge where she employed some of the first topless go-go dancers in Cleveland. Suffice it to say, the Americana Lounge was very popular in the 60s. Margaret was ahead of her time. With all the effort that self-employment takes, Margaret still found the time to be a devoted wife and mother. She prepared most of her family's dinners before she would go to work, homemade stews, soups, and roasts. Something was always cooking in the Goda kitchen, but it did not always start that way. Like many other great cooks, she learned from her own trials and errors. One night she decided she wanted to make a roast chicken, and again asked the neighbor, "How do you roast a chicken?" The neighbor looked at her and said, "You get a chicken and you throw it in the oven." In a scene that could have been from an episode of I Love Lucy, Margaret bought a chicken, followed the neighbor's instructions to a T. She roasted the whole chicken, feathers and all. When things got too hot at the bars, whether as an argument or an all-out brawl, Margaret was always in the middle of the action, trying to be the peacemaker. With her no-nonsense attitude, she developed a reputation with customers that she would bode no trouble, and that her establishments were always safe and comfortable. I'm sure there are some here today that would remember the time she hiked up her skirt, climbed over the bar, and landed a few punches on a soon-to-be-thrown-out customer that had begun a fight. Her bridesmaids, her, her barmaids were always a very loyal bunch, and many became her friends through the years. She was always willing to help them, mentor, and console them through their troubles and share in their triumphs and joys. As the years went by, her children married and gave her grandchildren. Family was the centerpiece of her life. As much as she worked, mostly 12-hour days, 7 days a week, she found time to host holidays with homemade Wiener Schnitzel and Sauerbraten as a frequent choice. There would always be pastries galore, and you could find her at the table surrounded by them. Margaret considered herself a connoisseur of pastries. She could always choose the best pies, cakes, and cookies, melt-in-your-mouth strudels, just by looking at them in the display case. Yet with the love of pastries, she never outgrew her beautiful and stylish suits and dresses that she would wear to work or take her children to carnival for rides and games. I personally think that the games were her favorite. With her hair in the latest bouffant style and meticulous makeup, no one would ever guess that she had a mean arm and a great aim for those carny games. Her grandchildren would always come home to their parents laden with treats and stuffed animals won by Grandma in the games of chance and sharing stories of Grandma riding go-karts or going round and round on some ride without ever losing a bobby pin. I know none of my friends had a grandma that would walk around Jogga Lake all day in 4-inch high heels. Margaret Goda's knack for business gave her the opportunity to purchase the family's first house on Rayburn Avenue in Cleveland. Her stipulation for the perfect house was that it had to be on a hill. This probably came from her Austrian mountain background. As she became more successful, she was able to purchase a brick bungalow in Euclid in 1971. Again, the street was at the top of Chardon Hill, and the house sat on top of another hill with a steep driveway. Evidently, in her excitement, she neglected to tell her husband that she had purchased a house and was moving eastward. Imagine his dismay upon returning home from work one night to a dark, empty house and no clue as to where his family had gone. Not to worry, he was able to locate his new family at their new home. They would grow into the most loving and caring couple that I have ever known. Family get-togethers weren't complete without a show from the Heine and Margaret Comedy Hour. Grandpa would say something cute about Grandma, such as, "She had the best legs in Austria," to which Grandma would respond with, "Zip it." But in the end, he would always win his little putzel back. They would go on to celebrate 62 wonderful anniversaries together. Margaret Goda was a beautiful, strong-willed, smart, funny, and compassionate woman whom I am proud to have had the opportunity to learn from both in business and family. She was the ultimate definition of class. I am proud to be her grandson. I know that she is and will always continue to be quietly determined. As she always said with a smile, quote, "I'm good."
To those words of tribute, also spoken as a prayer, together let us say Amen. So we gather to praise her and to fulfill the solemn obligation of paying our respects. When last we gathered, it was Heine's funeral. August 2010. He breathed his last at the age of 86. The days, weeks, months, and years fly by. And so today we gather, we weep, we celebrate, however, the long life that Margaretha Goda lived. She was filled with love. She was also 86 years old. Yesterday, as the family, as the children recalled her, there were moving parallels from the very beginning of the book of Exodus. Among the many themes at the very beginning of the book of Exodus, you find tough, determined women who work to nourish and sustain others. 3 examples. The first one, the Pharaoh commanded the Hebrew midwives, Shiphrah and Puah, that when they go to help the Hebrew women give birth, if they see it's a boy, they kill it. If it's a girl, they let it live. The Hebrew midwives, in the first act of civil disobedience in the whole Bible, disobeyed the Pharaoh, and they helped those women give birth. Second example, the birth of Moses, and then his mother Yocheved, his sister Miriam, that's Margaretha's Hebrew name, Miriam, put the baby into a basket and cast him into the river, not like throwing like the chicken in the oven, but placing into the river so that he would be saved. And then third, the Pharaoh's daughter, with her hands, brings in this basket and raises this child Moses to be a leader. And those were tough, those were spirited, those were determined women, and the same can be said of your dear Margaretha, your dear Margaret. She was tough. She was a strict teacher. She nourished your spirit, and she loved you. You have heard all about her birth. I would like to tell you that not only was she born in Austria, her parents, Anna and Joseph Wilhelm, which you know, she was one of 3 children, all now of blessed memory: Joseph, Maria, and Margaretha. When Nazi Germany annexed Austria, March 12th, 1938, she was not yet 10 years old. And we think of the lives we live as children. She met Heine after the war, as you know. The rendering I have is a little different, but yours, I'm sure, is the more accurate. Heine was big and strong. And when they met, he was in the hospital for typhoid in Vienna. And I was told that he said she had the best legs in Vienna, not all of Austria. They were married August 13th, 1947. Heine breathed his last just the day before their 63rd anniversary in 2010. He used to call her my little Gretela, among other things he called her. They have been blessed with, and there have been more recent arrivals in the last 6 years. They were blessed with 4 children, 7 grandchildren. We now have 7 great-grandchildren and 2 great-great-grandchildren. Everyone has a name. If I make a mistake, just call it out, Davy, okay? All right. Children: Rose, Faye, Dave, Sammy, of blessed memory. Rose is married to Richard, Faye to Howard, Dave to Kathy. 7 grandchildren: Sam, married to Marcella. Richard, Jr., married to Dana. Lisa, married to Donnie. Jenny, married to Mark. Liz, married to Andy. We have Dave. We have Mike. 7 great-grandchildren: the twins, Alice and Rocco. Cecilia, Shayna, Michael, married to Emily. Jack, Maggie. And then the great-great-grandchildren, Vincent and Michael III. Everybody? In 1950, they arrived here in America, came to Cleveland, and as you know, the Jewish Family Service sponsored them. So, as you know, they had 6 different bars throughout the years, and at the time of Heine's passing, Margaretha mentioned here that they were nothing fancy, just a shot and beer places. He worked days, and Margaretha worked nights, and the family joked that's how they stayed married so long. It is often when we look and see that things have invisible lines of connection. Dave said most nights Mom got off work about 2:30 a.m. And he continued that she breathed her last Saturday night, Sunday morning, 2:30 a.m. Dave said Dad always saw the good in everyone. He was kind. He was a gift. Mom was a little tougher than that. He told the story about the details are sketchy. He'll tell you when you see him. Somebody had a fight in the parking lot. Didn't you say it was a couple of girls? Yeah, and she went out and she settled it. And he said it wasn't like she settled it. I mean, she settled it. Um, and then probably came back in with her dress and looked very, very nice. There was great pictures that you had. Rose, Faye, and Dave recalled, Mom was a sharp dresser, even at the bar. She was very protective of her children. She could be very tough. Dad was a big guy and a sweetheart, and it was a good combination, the two of them. And when she got angry, her nostrils flared. I wonder if that is a family trait. She was a good mom, and even though she sounded tough, sometimes not so much. If you were grounded for a month, it usually lasted 3 days. She loved sweets. She had diabetes, but she used to sneak sweets with Faye when they would go shopping at the grocery store. She loved chocolate and strudel. We always had to buy 2. She never bought 1 of anything when it came to sweets, always 2. When you were out with her, she would try to figure out where the next bakery was. So you were stopped, and where's the next bakery? She loved good pastry and dobish torts. Aren't those kind of messy when you eat them, the dobish torts? They are really delicious. I guess it depends how you eat them. They had dogs, and they loved the dogs they had, especially the Rottweilers. And the last 2 they had before Heine passed, Smokey and Sheba used to sleep with them in the bed. They loved each other, Heine and Margaretha. Before Heine passed away in 2010, he told the kids, take care of Mom. And they did the best they could. They did. They kept her at home as long as they could. And the day after Christmas, she went into the hospital, and then it was back and forth between the hospital and Menorah Park. And then this past Saturday, she went into hospice, and then 8 hours later, a mere 8 hours, she breathed her last. And now there's no more pain or deterioration. There's just rest and wholeness and peace. Judaism speaks of Olam Haba, the world to come. It is a spiritual existence, and our souls return to God. From Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 7, the dust returns to the earth as it was. We will place the vessel for the soul, which is the body, in the ground. The dust returns to the earth as it was. The spirit returns to God who gave it. So her soul will be together with Heine's soul. And one of the children, I don't need to tell you which one, said, now after 6 years, she's got it coming to him. She's coming for him now, in a good way. But their souls will be together, and we do believe that God takes care of our loved ones, the souls of our loved ones when they go. And when we go, when we breathe our last, we'll be together with our loved ones and the ancestors of our people as well. So as you think of your dear Margaretha, your dear Margaret, your mother, your grandmother, your great-grandmother, your great-great-grandmother, think of the things that would make her proud in terms of your behavior. Think of ways that you can carry on her generation's legacy, the memory of her generation. Because with each succeeding passing, those who lived through the Holocaust and those who lived through the tyranny of Nazi Germany, with each passing, those stories are in some way silenced. This family has a deep history with that, and so we hope and pray that it goes not just to grandchildren only, but to great-grandchildren, and then to great-great-grandchildren. Those stories need to be internalized. We need to act upon those. So as you think of your dear Margaretha, eat a little chocolate. Be kind to one another. Take good care of one another. And do these things in her loving memory. And so we conclude with words from the first chapter of the book of Job. Adonai natan v'Adonai lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai mevarach. The Lord hath given, the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Amen. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'himru yimru amen. Ya'aseh shalom, Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. May God, who causes peace to reign in the high heavens, cause peace to rain down upon us, upon all Israel, and upon the soul of your dearly departed, our dearly departed Margaret Goda. And let us say, Amen. Please rise for the El Maleh Rachamim prayer. Into your care, O God, we entrust the spirit of our dear Margaretha Goda. For you keep faith with your children in death as in life. Sustain us that we may meet with serenity the mysteries that lie ahead, knowing that when we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you, O God, are with us, a loving friend in whom we put our trust. You are the light of our life, our hope in eternity. El Maleh Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hametzeh Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, Im Kedoshim Utohorim, Kezohar Harakia Mazirim, Et Nishmat Miriam, Shahalacha La'olama, Ba'al Harachamim, Yasdireha B'Seter Kenafav Lo'olamim, Vayitzroh B'Tzroh HaChaim, Et Nishmata, Adonai Hu Nachalata, V'tanuach b'shalom al mishkava, v'nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to our dear Margaretha, our dear Margaret Goda. She has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. We'll be reciting the Kaddish prayer for her at the grave at Zion Memorial. She'll be on the Kaddish list to Temple Israel Ner Tamid for the next month, for the Shloshim, for the 30-day period. The Hebrew school children will be practicing the Kaddish prayer on Wednesday afternoons and saying Kaddish for Margaret. Sunday morning religious school students will be practicing the Kaddish and saying this Kaddish prayer for Margaret. And it'll be our privilege to recite the prayer whether any family member is in attendance or not. Just one moment, I have to ask the family something. After we place her body in the ground and escort her body to its final resting place, everyone is invited who wishes to come to Jimmy Dodana's, the restaurant. It's in Solon on Enterprise Street or Enterprise Parkway. I don't know why it's called a parkway. It's just a street. And we'll gather and break bread there for the mourner's meal. We'll be there in about an hour and 20 minutes from now. If you cannot attend at Zion, know that we'll be there in about an hour and 20 minutes. This concludes our service here at the funeral home, and the gentlemen who work here will give us instruction for the procession to the cemetery.